Hey guys, how are you? It's your girl Jackie from the Financial Literacy Tribe, coming at you with a brand new video. Guys, Americans nowadays are facing challenges worse than we ever have before, during my lifetime at least. I mean, illness and political divide aside, we are currently, at the time that I'm posting this video, at an 8.4% unemployment rate in this country. So I just wanted to take the time to create this video and point out what are the 4 main things that you should definitely do if you have recently lost your job. Let's jump right into it. Step 1 is you need to get organized. If you happen to be one of the few Americans that has their entire financial life together, congratulations, you are one in a million. Because a recent poll, which I will link in the description box, is showing that about 67% of Americans don't currently have a budget. So if you happen to fall in that basket, then you need to make sure that you are getting yourself financially organized. Take inventory of all of your current bills, the minimum amount that you need to pay on a monthly basis, and any money that you might potentially have in terms of savings and assets. You're going to want to list these and have them in a very organized list so that way you can quick reference if you ever need the information, and also so that way you know who it is that you have to contact if you're unable to make those payments. Step number 2 that you should be thinking through as soon as you find out that you're now unemployed is definitely start creating your plan, right? This is something that's going to vary wildly depending on who it is that you are, what your situation is. Do you qualify for unemployment? That's like the number 1 question that I would be asking. If you do, make sure that you jump on that and get started signing up for those unemployment benefits ASAP, because they do take some time to process and then some time before you actually see the actual money. So if you do qualify for that, if that's something that you have, definitely be sure to tap into that as soon as possible. The second question that I would be asking is, what are you going to do during this time off while you're not working? For some people, it's just a matter of finding a different job, but it's the same exact type of job that maybe what they've been doing. If I were to become unemployed, my degree is in nursing, the majority of my work history is within nursing, so I would be looking for another nurse job. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to find the same type of job that you've been doing. Now is the perfect time to start drafting your plan, kind of figure out where it is that you are and figure out where it is that you want to be ideally. It's totally okay if you want to do something completely different. You just have to figure out your plan in terms of how you're going to develop those new skills. Are you going to be going to a more formal program in terms of schooling and education? How are you going to pay for that? They may also qualify for education grants. So if you qualify for that, that's a great way to pay for your education so that you can learn something new. If you don't currently qualify for unemployment or any type of assistance while you're not working, unless you have a very large amount of money stored away, in terms of savings or emergency savings that you can kind of live off of, you're probably going to want to find something as soon as humanly possible. So I would definitely still sit down and strategize a plan as to how you can sort of do this most effectively, right? So the first thing would be updating your resume, making sure that it is just looking as spotless and perfect as it can possibly look, and that it encompasses all of the skills and things that you would be bringing to your new job. So make sure that you're optimizing your resume, you have a cover letter ready to go. So that would be step 1. The next thing would be seeing what types of resources are maybe available within your community or even within the online internet community that are going to be really helpful in terms of finding a new job. I feel like nowadays everything is online, right? Like it's not that hard to jump onto Monster or Indeed.com or some other website like that where they have all of the jobs listed. At least, familiarize yourself with what type of resources are available to you. So that way you can tap into them if you need to. Step 3 is you need to start collecting resources. I like to think of resources as tools in my toolkit. You may not necessarily have to use all of these resources, but at least you know that they're there if you do need them. I have linked all of the tools and resources that I'm about to share with you in the description box, so be sure to check those out if you're interested at all. But the first category in terms of resources that you should know about include food. My first recommendation for you, if you recently have become unemployed, is if you don't already know how to cook, you should learn how to cook. And the reason is because cooking food at home is going to always be way less expensive than going out to eat on a regular basis. I have linked in the description box a host of different resources for you to access that showcase what are some of the more affordable meals that you're going to be able to cook at home for a fraction of the price of what you would if you were going out to eat. So definitely be sure to implement that as a daily habit. In addition to that, the actual Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD as they call it, it's a government website and it's really good, and it does actually have a list of food pantries. You just have to put in your zip code. So again, if it comes to that, no shame in your game. Be sure to reach out to those particular food pantries so that you can grab some free food for yourself and for your family. Second category of resources for you is regarding housing. My number one tip is, as soon as you find out that you have lost your job, my recommendation is that if you're renting, is be sure to communicate that with your landlord. At least at that point they're aware and they could potentially work out some sort of a deal with you, hopefully, if you're unable to make your rent payments on time during the duration in which you are unemployed. Some other resources for you is to check out some rental or mortgage assistance programs that they might have available within your state. A lot of states not only have the rental and mortgage assistance, but a lot of them also have utilities assistance. So I'm going to try to link those websites down below in the description box for you, but be sure to check those out, because if you qualify, it would probably take a load off in terms of burden on figuring out how you're going to get that paid from month to month. So be sure to check that out. And then if you don't qualify for that, or perhaps they don't have it in your state, another good tip is to start thinking about house hacking. I know it can be uncomfortable in terms of thinking about having potentially a roommate or a stranger that you don't know stay with you. But honestly, I feel like nowadays that's kind of the way to go. There's so many people who are doing it. So you may want to think about, if you have your own home, renting out one of your bedrooms or renting out a certain portion of your home to a renter, and so that way that income will help to supplement your mortgage burden. It's definitely something to think about, and certainly if you're renting and you have more than a one bedroom, why not just get a roommate if you can? And definitely at least have somebody there with you, splitting the cost of housing with you. It definitely makes things much more affordable, so it's something that you're going to want to consider. Our next resource category is healthcare. Healthcare, I feel like, is one of those things that people don't necessarily think about. You're so busy trying to focus and make sure that you are paying your bills and feeding your family that you forget about healthcare costs, which could be very, very expensive if you're paying out of pocket for them. So my first recommendation and tip in terms of healthcare is, if you just recently got unemployed from your job, see if your job is able to or is willing to give you a healthcare continuation until you can find something else. That would basically be where, if you were getting health insurance already through your job, even though you're no longer employed with them, they are able to continue those benefits and keep you on in terms of those benefits until, again, you're able to find something else. So it's definitely worth talking to your manager or your boss or whoever it is that is above you in terms of seeing if that's an option for you. If that doesn't end up working out, you can try to apply for Medicaid. Most people who are unemployed and aren't seeing any income probably will qualify. So you're going to want to apply and see if that's something that you can utilize in the interim until you find something else. And you may want to check out that Housing and Urban Development, the HUD website that I had talked about before, because they do actually also have health clinics within your area. You just have to go on the website and type in your zip code, and so at least that way you can find some clinics within your area that are going to be more affordable. You're still paying out of pocket for them, but they're probably going to be more affordable than your regular doctor or going to a regular hospital or whatever the case may be. My last resource category for you guys, and it probably only applies to people that have kids or families, is you're going to want to think about daycare. Again, this sort of like the healthcare thing is kind of one of those things that people don't necessarily think about. I guess the assumption is that if you're not working, then you can watch your own kids. But definitely if you plan on hitting the pavement running, and applying for jobs right away, you're gonna want to establish a list of trustworthy babysitters or people that can care for and watch your kids while you're going on interviews or training for new skills, or going to all of these appointments and different things that you're going to have to do while you're getting your life together. You don't want to leave your very little kids home alone by themselves. So just be sure to kind of think through and develop a list of people that are trustworthy that you're going to be able to leave your kids with for low or no cost. Shout out to all the grandparents out there who I know do this sort of thing all the time if they're able to. But certainly if you don't have family or close friends that can watch your kids, you could potentially look into elderly neighbors or neighbors that have kids of their own who they're home with. A lot of people are working from home nowadays, so be sure to, commune with your neighbors and reach out to the community and see who might be able to do that for you. And so that way, at least you have a nice list of individuals that you can leave your kids with, again, if you have an interview or someplace that you have to be. So be sure to think that through. My fourth step for you, if you have recently found out that you are now unemployed, is breathe. I feel like the very last thing that we tend to think about during these types of stressful moments of time are our mental health. But it is like the number one thing that we should be thinking about. So definitely make sure that you are taking your time to take a deep breath and breathe. Make sure that you are taking your time to process what has just happened to you. You are allowed to have emotions. You are allowed to be frustrated and be angry at the direction that your life has taken. You are valid in feeling that way. So be sure to take that time to just breathe and process and do whatever it is that you need to be in a more positive space mentally. It is super important. Some resources and recommendations surrounding that is definitely, first of all, you are going to want to establish some sort of a schedule while you're not working. I feel like the number one kind of pitfall that people tend to fall into is they're not working, they fall off of their schedule, they're just kind of like bored at home, watching TV, walking around, pacing, thinking about their lives and how unhappy they are. And it is so easy to kind of spiral into a depression that way. So definitely, even if you're not working and maybe you don't have a ton of really structured things that you have to do, make that structure yourself. Create a little schedule for yourself so that you're getting up in the morning. Maybe you're going for a walk. You're preparing breakfast. You're doing whatever it is that you need to do. Create a schedule for yourself so that way you're implementing that structure on your own. And I think it's really going to help to kind of make sure that you're in a good place mentally. Secondary to that, find resources in terms of people that you can speak to if you're feeling really frustrated or upset. That can be really good friends that you have, family members that you're very close to, that you don't mind telling your business to, or even seeking professional help in terms of counseling or something like that, if you can find an affordable one within your area. Also, one of the things that I like to do is have a list of self-care activities that you can do if you're feeling really frustrated or depressed or upset in the moment. Some of my favorite things to do are listening to very relaxing music. Definitely exercising and taking a walk really put me in a good place. Taking a warm bubble bath, baking. I'm a terrible baker, but a lot of people report that baking is like, I don't know, really, really relaxing, I guess, for some people, or maybe cooking. So definitely kind of make a list of the activities that are going to be free and affordable, that are really good self-care activities that you can kind of implement if you find yourself being in a really tough space mentally, because your mental health matters. It's important. Guys, I hope you found this video to be somewhat helpful. I hope that it brings you some sort of respite if you are in the stressful position of having just lost your job. We're all in this together. For additional resources, be sure to check out my blog, which is focusedfrugalfab.com, and I will see you guys soon.